Okay, so the next thing we're going to be talking about is Intro to Sketching, and we're going to look at the dimensioning guidelines. So what are the rules for dimensioning? You might think it's a little backwards to teach you this after you've practiced a couple, but it's good to do this and then be able to look back and be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. That's why I wasn't supposed to do that, or that's why it worked the way I did do it. There are 8 separate rules, as you can see on your notes. We're going to look at them one at a time. I'm going to try whenever possible to show you what wrong way to do it and the right way to do it so you can really compare. For the essential questions, we want to know what should you not do when dimensioning a sketch, and what are some ways to check if your sketch is properly dimensioned. So how are you going to know if you've done it correctly? We're going to start with number 1. Dimensions should not be duplicated. So as we go, here's an example of what not to do. So as you can see here, everything in red is an over dimension, meaning I've listed the same bits of information twice. As you can see, I have 0.75 on top and 0.75 on the bottom. 1.5 on top and 1.5 on the bottom, and 2 on the top and 2 also on the bottom. On the right side, I have that 1 inch there, and you can see just to the right of it, I already have the inch already labeled. And similarly, that 0.50 is also not supposed to be there. The proper way to do it, the right way, is just like this right here, which is really the dimensioning you're seeing on top, just without all the duplicates in there. So as you can see, I have every distance of width, length, and depth properly dimensioned. So remember, rule number 1 is to write down that you should not be doubling any dimensions. Again, if you didn't do it already, you might want to rewind the video and write down each one. Your job is basically just to write down the 8 rules and use the examples to help you understand what they mean. Okay, so example number 2, dimensions should be attached to the view that shows the best shows the feature. Okay, and that's going to make more sense in a second. All right, so first of all, let's look at what not to do. So what this means is whichever view is showing you the things that you're labeling the best, that's where you want to attach them. There's technically nothing wrong with, writing them the way they are up there. They're accurate, 0.75, 1.5, 2.0. But the proper way to do it is to label them on the bottom, because when you look at it this way, now I'm labeling the pieces that I can see. I can see the heights. I can see where they're separated. At the top, all I have is 3 lines. I don't know which one's at the top, which one's on the bottom, what height each one is. I do see the lines, but on the bottom, I'm using the faces that feature the way they're supposed to. On the right side, that 0.50 wouldn't make sense, because why would I feature a line that I can't even really see the height of, versus on the front face, I can really see the details. So looking down at the bottom, because this piece right here is something I can see the way that face looks, that's where I want to dimension it. And the same is true for all of them. Okay, the height, even though I can see the height on the bottom left one, on the right side I really see from the side view that height well. And depth is definitely the easiest to tell from the top view. Okay, rule number 3, avoid dimensioning hidden lines. And this is something that you may have done earlier. You may have drawn a dimension line on a hidden line. That's something that they want you to avoid. So again, here's an example looking at the same picture. As you can see in red there, I drew a dimension line that went to a dotted hidden line. That's something you just want to try to avoid. Okay. Again, the proper way to do it, even though it doesn't follow one of the rules, is what I did is instead, I went ahead and brought that dimension out here. Because remember, this hidden line you're seeing right there is basically this shelf that's over here. It's just that shelf right there. It's just blocked off from the angle. So again, it's much better to see it from the left side view, from the front side view where you can see that height, than it is to dimension to a hidden line. So no dimensioning to hidden lines. That's the moral of this one. Okay, number 4. Avoid dimensioning over or through the figure. And this is going to make sense when you see it. So what not to do. It's going to look way different. As you can see, all of my lines on this picture are inside the figure. That's just a huge no-no. Even though it may seem like you're getting everything detailed and everything written together, you're cutting off your space for holes, you have lines crossing that get confusing, you have numbers all close together next to each other. It really loses all of the organization that you gain from doing it the correct way of dimensioning. Obviously, when you now compare it to the proper way, which is the same one we've looked at each time, you can see there's just a much more organization. You leave the shapes free, nothing inside of it, and you can move on. Now, we did talk about how sometimes you have to draw through the figure. You have to cut down because you got this weird shelf that's inside of the figure. Well, you're going to have to draw a line through to go to it. And if your extension lines have to cross, then that's just what they have to do. But we don't want to dimension inside the figure, and we don't want to dimension through the line if we can at all avoid it. Number 5, place dimensions between adjacent views. So looking at it here, what this means is I can draw my views all different directions. So as you can see here, I've got some that are on the left, I've got some that are on the bottom. Okay, and again, the reason we don't want to do this is a couple of things. One, you can see all those lines crossing inside, which makes no sense. But 2, it doesn't line up anymore. When the dimensions on this one, as you can see on the right side view, when they're directly above, it kind of lines up with above. I can imagine this dimensioning line carrying up and saying, oh, okay, that's why that's 2 inches wide as well. When it's down here on the bottom, you really lose the fact that it's connected to this. When it's over here on the left, you lose the fact that it's connected to that. So by keeping them next to the dimensions that we would use, that allows us to recall that. Okay, now, of course, you might notice that this right here is not in the middle, like we just said was a rule. Well, again, remember our reason we had to put that over there was because we didn't want to dimension to this hidden line right there. So if you're faced with a bad choice, you either lose on one or you lose on the other, you should definitely just label in a different spot rather than break one of the rules, such as dimensioning to a hidden line. Okay, number 6, a circle is dimensioned by its diameter and an arc by its radius. So here's a different picture for you to look at here. So as you can see, just like we did before, this diameter logo right there. Okay, so this being a circle, okay, that hole being a circle, we use its diameter. And given that this right here is just a piece of a circle, it's kind of an arc. So as you can see, this piece right there is just an arc. That is given as the radius that would be part of the circle. Okay, so 0.25. So you can notice the notation is R for radius, and you have the line with the slash through it for diameter. Number 7, holes are located by center lines and are extended. So again, we've looked at this before. What you have to do is on a hole, because they're in the center of the object, you can't follow the normal rules. You have to cross. So as it said, basically what you do is you use the center line, not the edge. Okay, and that's what gets dimensioned. So remember from the picture from we learned earlier, that means that dimension of 1 inch connects to the center of that circle, and then from the top here, okay, that line right there, to the center is 0.5 inches. And that allows you to get the position and the size of the shape. Okay, the last rule, holes should be dimensioned on the side that shows as a hole. This might be a little confusing. Okay, so we'll start off with what not to do. Okay, as you can see, out of the 3 views, only the front view actually shows the hole. So that's really where we want to dimension. The way they've done it and the way not to do it is they've dimensioned it on the top and they've dimensioned on the right side. It just really gives you a very tough perspective to understand what's going on here. Sure, I don't have to draw any lines that cross, and I can make that diameter of 0.53, 0.50, but I lose the fact that I'm talking about that hole right there. It's much easier to understand when you look at it the correct way, which is to have that dimension as we looked at before. So now I can see that if I start from the edge, left edge, the center is exactly 1 inch in and exactly 0.5 inches down. Okay, and then I make a circle. When you start doing your actual design, you'll see this is so much easier than trying to use the other faces to do it. Because yes, sure, that does show a circle in the top, but to say that's 1 inch from the edge doesn't mean as much as it does when you look at it down on the bottom picture and you can really picture where that circle is going. So as a rule of thumb, you always look for the face that shows the hole, and that's where you draw the dimensioning of the hole. So hopefully these things will help you guys. You're going to do about 3 practice ones right now on your own. And the goal again is to try to follow these rules of dimensioning. You don't have to be perfect. Again, this is a learning experience and I'm here to help you guys. So if in doubt, have me check it. Thanks again for watching and we'll see you next time.